Hello, everyone. Welcome to the meeting of the Waynesboro Area School District Board of Directors for June 22nd, 2021. Let's start with the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, Ms. Kuzer, we have one online, so let's do an individual roll call, please.
Okay. Mrs. Sullivan. Here. Mr. McDonald.
Here.
Mrs. Zimmerman.
Here.
Mrs. Strite.
Here.
Dr. Royer.
Here.
Mr. Wenger.
Here.
Mrs. Miles.
Here.
Mrs. Bakedel.
Here.
Mrs. Harold.
Here. Okay, for the agenda, there's one change unless Dr. Klein corrects me, and that's on one of the policies. Policy 340 will not have a second vote, or we'll have a vote, won't have a second reading and vote on that tonight. We think there's one that just came in that's going to change that one. So we're going to get rid of that one. We will vote on the other three, though, that are on the agenda. Do we have a motion to approve the agenda?
So move.
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, on to the minutes. Do we have any problems with the minutes? If not, can we have a motion?
Move to approve. Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you. Superintendent report,
All
Dr.
right,
Klein.
As of today, we do have one positive case this week in the district. It's a summer help, so want to kind of let everybody know we still have to report it for a little while. We have to report our positive cases. So the other thing is by July 30th, we have to have the board approve and post our health and safety plan for next year. At this point, what I'm recommending is that, the masks will be optional. We will not quarantine because there are some changes there of recommendation, but we will not quarantine, and we will, send kids home if they are sick and adults home if they're sick as a way of trying to, at least be prepared. If we see that there are changes, then we'll make sure, if we see a rise or some concerns in the fall, then we'll make some adjustments and bring it back to the board for approval. But I think my understanding right now is all we're going to have to do is have you approve it as the board, then post it on the website. So a number of things will change. We're hoping to get back to like group work and other things. If people want to keep those plexiglass pieces up, I don't see why we can't do that. But for the most part, if we want to try to get closer to an old normal, then we can. That's it.
Okay, thank you. Okay, for public comment tonight, I was reminded last week by more than one person that I let people speak beyond the 5 minutes. So today we're going to keep to the 5 minutes. If 5 minutes is up and you're still talking, I'll give you a little warning, but then it will be cut off soon after that, just so everybody knows. Okay. So do we have anyone that would like to speak for public comment? Okay, Mr. Gunder, over there to the podium, please. And if you would give your name and address, please.
Yes, Paul Gunder, 1814 East Main Street, Waynesboro. And I assure you I won't need five minutes. So yeah, I just wanted to first of all introduce, I'm with the Waynesboro Daycare Center Board. So I'm here, and Carling Wilhide, Debbie Duffy, Jack Scott, and Robert Wolf are here with me tonight. We just wanted to say we really appreciate that the board is bringing this up for discussion tonight. We're very appreciative of that. We're here, and the Waynesboro daycare exists because, in these tough times, it's very difficult for these young families to manage without two incomes. Most of the, our clients out here, our attendees are two income families. And of course, with young families and the types of jobs they have, it's very difficult for them. I mean, we open up early in the morning, so it gives them the opportunity to bring their children to us first, which they wouldn't, it may affect their job status or whatever if they weren't able to do that. So we really appreciate the possibility of having this presented tonight. And that's really all I wanted to say is we really appreciate you taking making the effort here to look at this. So thank you very
Okay,
much.
thank you. Anyone else like to speak? No one else? Oh, okay, yes, sir.
Hi, my name is Preston Howell, the owner of the Beanstalk Childcare. I don't get much information in the way of the board's decisions and what they're talking about, and I should pay more attention to this. But I do know that we had some issues around transportation, and so I was told about this meeting tonight that I might want to come and listen in and maybe say something. So I just want to say something about the transportation as it affects daycares in this area. Every child that is enrolled in a daycare that has to go to school must be transported there. As a daycare, we have to pay for that. To pay for that, we have to charge those kids, their parents, for that transportation. So they are paying a cost to be transported to school. If we don't have to transport them, that necessarily means that tuition doesn't have to include that transportation. Other children are transported and they're given a place near them where they can get on the bus and they can get to school on the bus. But right now, the childcare centers are excluded from that, and those children who have to go to the childcare centers because parents are working, they now have to have a burden of paying for that transportation, whereas all the other children do not. So it would be, I believe, a good thing for the community to treat all the children the same, whether they go to childcare center or not, and give them transportation to the school based on where they're coming from, and just be even-handed with it. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you. Anyone else like to speak tonight? Okay, if not, then we will move on then to business. Well, first we have board initiatives. I'm sorry, board reports. Do we have anybody with a board report? I don't know, we have too much happening these last couple of weeks.
We have our next meeting for policy the 30th. And we have be prepared, as Aaron said, with snacks because it's going to be a long one. We have a whole lot of new ones coming in. Mr. McDonald, a whole lot of new ones came in.
That's at 1 o'clock, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And we're going to reevaluate some from first reading. So
Okay.
It'll be a long one.
An academic committee will be that same day. We will start 10. We're looking at 10 to 11:30 on the 30th. It will not be the 23rd, which is what the original posting was for that meeting. Anybody else?
Mrs. Harold, excuse me, you said 10 o'clock for academic?
Yep.
Facilities Committee, the next committee meeting is Monday, July 19th, 6:30. Here in this room.
Tomorrow. we might come
And tomorrow, the committee is having a chance to do a walkthrough of several of the elementary schools, Fairview, Hooverville, and Mount. And we previously had an opportunity 2 weeks ago to visit Summit View and the middle school and the high school.
Okay, is that it for board reports? Okay, now on to business. First item is personnel, Dr. Stutterheim.
Thank you, Mrs. Harold. I'd like to direct your attention to the personnel items listed in the board doc. We have resignation of support staff, resignation of professional staff, appointments of summer school instructors, appointments of summer cleaners and painters, appointments of summer student workers, appointments of game personnel. In addition, we have 2 additional leaves. I believe that is it. Recommendation is to approve as listed.
Motion,
So moved.
Second.
I don't want to approve Stephanie George leaving. I really, really don't.
any other questions for Dr. Sternheim?
You can
I'll
abs-
vote for it, but I don't mean it. Yeah, with a lot of regret.
Okay, all those in favor of approving the personnel, please say aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Tenure, Dr. Sternheim.
Okay, also within your board doc, you have a listing of teachers who have successfully completed 3 years of service in the Waynesboro Area School District and are eligible for tenure. Recommendation is to approve all teachers listed.
Motion,
So move.
Second.
questions? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. The MTSS job description, Dr. Sternheim.
Thank you, Mrs. Harold. What you have there is a job description for MTSS coordinator. What we're looking at is moving forward. These will be essentially the instructional support teachers. Their titles would be changed at the elementary level. And this is for a secondary, specifically at WAMS at this point. ESSER funded MTSS coordinator. So the job description is listed there. I did provide it to the principals for some review, as well as the current IST. So although we had posted for the position, if there's any recommendations or changes to the job description, we can definitely entertain it.
Motion,
Move to approve.
questions?
So that's a lot. That's a lot. And that person will be at the middle school.
Yes.
Okay, so that person will basically be in charge of the other 4. Or is there only 3?
No,
No.
we've had numerous discussions like about the term instructional support teacher. And
Okay.
so this is essentially what an instructional support teacher would do. So we're calling all the ISTs moving forward MTSS
Good,
coordinators.
that's good.
So right now we have it posted as secondary. Depending on how some of the data works out, I would also be very hopeful of the possibility of being able to secure that position also at the senior high school. Again, recognizing it's funded through ESSER funding in the hopes that, we have some additional funding at this point in order to try to address some of the learning recovery needs.
Okay,
One of the biggest things that we're looking at from the secondary perspective is the management of 504 plans
Yeah.
for students. Right now, that is falling on the responsibility of our secondary counselors. And
Yeah.
so that's something that would be an essential role of this individual as well.
I would like to see you pursue that more, that possibility of having that at the high school.
Thank
Because this really is a lot. That's just me. That's my thought.
Thank you, Ms. Hill.
Anybody else? Okay, if not, all those in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? Okay, TSI plan and Summit View TSI plan. I guess that's Dr. Sternheim again.
That is correct. So
Okay.
you will, within your folder, you have hard copies. You can take some time to review it, although it asks us to vote on it. Essentially what it is a board affirmation statement saying that you have viewed both the ATSI and the TSI plan. Both of these plans are designated as a requirement by the Pennsylvania Department of Education for students in what is referred to as a subgroup area not making adequate yearly progress or achievement and growth or attendance issues. The Waynesboro Senior High School was, the irony is they're on this plan for students that were here in 2015. So because of the duration of the plan that we're still being asked to follow through with making, basically looking at developing a professional development plan to continuously address how we can grow our special education students as well as have them attend school on a more regular basis. The Summit View Elementary School received the TSI designation as a result of their L students not making as much achievement or growth as required. So basically, it's a school improvement plan. It is tied into our school comprehensive plan, and the board has the opportunity to review the plans, ask questions, and ultimately, between Dr. Klein and myself, we have to upload information and then submit it to PDE saying that we have reviewed and essentially we'll be working through the plan. We do have quarterly meetings with the staff at the LIU to determine the progress of our plan.
So does this have to be approved by a certain date, did you say?
Technically, it needs to be approved by June 30th. Like we have to submit everything.
Okay, so then my question is, does anybody have a problem with getting the information? Are you okay with voting tonight, or do you want to figure some other time to vote? Anybody have a problem with voting tonight? Let me ask that. Everybody good? Okay. Okay, so therefore then, we have a motion to approve this.
So just
Oh, I'm sorry.
clarification. So in other words, we can vote to approve the plans,
Yeah.
but like, and I had indicated to Dr. Royer that I would definitely make sure that she receives copies as well.
Okay,
But if there's any revisions that you need, I mean, we can still make revisions to the plan. It just has to be voted on that you've had the opportunity to at least review it. So
okay,
I'm just saying, we're open to making revisions if required.
okay. But obviously it's easier to vote on it now.
Absolutely.
Okay. Okay. So then do we have a motion to approve these plans, or at least acknowledge we've seen it from anyone? Motion? Okay,
Second.
thank you, Mr. McDonald. Okay, any further questions? Okay, if not, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay,
Give me one,
ESS contract. You again, Dr.
Morning.
Sternerheim.
Okay, what you have is the extension of the ESS contract. That is essentially our substitute service. We're asking for an extension of the contract for one additional year. Dr. Klein, at this point, are we having discussion as to what we would like or recommend as a per diem rate?
Yeah, I think at this point, what we are recommending that we would have we would continue the substitute rate at $150 a day. And I believe not the long term, is long term,
Well-
that would be about 175. And we know that we'd be able to compete a little more with, we kind of started that ball rolling back when we were in school in January. We upped the amount. It made a difference, and the other districts who came back to school in March saw how much of a difference, and they raised theirs higher than ours. So, we don't have to compete of where they're at, but I think the fact that we got to at least keep it afloat.
And that is included in the agenda, the pay scales, the second document there. Correct. Everybody saw that, right? Okay, motion,
move to approve.
questions, comments?
Questions, comments. I worked for ESS, and I can tell you it was not a good situation. And I would not work for them again. However, I know that this past year was a difficult year, so I will vote to approve this for 1 year, but I think that we need to consider an alternative situation if there is a better one out there. I'm not positive that there is a better one out there because this has been a tremendously difficult year for substitutes. And I did not work during this past year. It was the previous year that I worked for them. They were very, very difficult to even sign up with. Anyway, so I will vote for this for 1 year, but I would like to try to explore other possibilities.
That is on the list, but some of the challenges we have with this is, and there are other ones out there, City of Philadelphia uses Kelly. It's a well-known company. There are others. I know in my last district, we used a different one and it was good. It did a nice job. The problem that the challenge we have is that all 5 of the school districts in the county are using the same one. If we left on our own, and this is why we went with a 1-year contract. If a couple of the districts would band together and stay with them, they're going to end up with those substitutes that are in that company that are working with them. So they kind of become their employees. And it's difficult. We have nobody to go to. And that's the challenge we have. So as a county, we're trying to stick together to do 1 more year of a contract. And we know that if we start here this fall, start getting other companies in to review, that we can maybe have a better decision then by next spring. Do we want to continue with that? You know, because some of the approaches, some of those things haven't changed a whole lot, the concerns that you have, and we have other concerns, you know, through managing it. And none of it's different from one district to the other, all the same issues.
But, and my major concern was the hoops I had to jump through even to get certified as, you know, as a former teacher. I had to jump through hoops and I felt like, am I stupid that I can't do this correctly? It was this hoop and this hoop and this hoop and this hoop. They made it very, very difficult to even sign up to be a substitute. So I would like our county to, and surrounding districts to look at something.
I have had several people in the community who would like to sub, say the same thing that Linda is saying, that they've started. One woman said she spent $183 just to sign up. All the things she had to do before she could even sub one day. And for some of these parents that are trying to find a second little job, to put that amount of money out a couple months before they're even able to sub, it was difficult.
And I think Dr. Sternheim has worked harder to get substitutes than what they have, at least in our viewpoint. And, you know,
$75 referral fee. I know, but our teachers have worked very hard and we've recruited a lot of college students. Say, well, you can you can, as long as you're an education major, as long as you have 60 credits completed, you can substitute for up to 20 days. So we've had numerous college students subbing for us as well.
And Dr. Sternheim was very, very supportive and kept me going when I was ready to give up, I can tell you.
Support system.
and I will tell you, I've had conversations with Paul Schemmel about trying to change, you know, look at the Maryland system of substitutes, because you can have a high school. I mean, we have coaches with a high school diploma who do a great job with kids. And, you know, so if we're looking for somebody on a daily basis, I don't think they have to have a college degree. So, you know, a lot of people work with kids that don't have that. But as long as they have that high school diploma, they can substitute for a day. And that's what Maryland does. And, you know, there's more pay for the level you're at and the skills that you have. But, you know, so that's something I know we've talked to Mr. Schemmel about pushing Pennsylvania that direction. It hasn't gone that way because Pennsylvania is very strict with their teacher requirements, but you know, it would help us out.
Another thing I'd like us to look at in the future, and not for right now, is if you're substituting for more than one day. For instance, I was in for 6 weeks. I was certified in the area. I got $100 or $99 a day. You know, if somebody is certified in that particular area and for a longer period of time, they should get more pay than somebody who is coming in just subbing for a day. However, that's also future too. So right now,
Well, if you vote
Let's
for
just
this,
find
you'll get
subs.
150.
well, okay, 100, but it's still, you know what? That still did not pay me
No.
for what I was
no.
doing. So, but I think there should be a differentiation.
The
you know,
long-term
for
sub, it's in the, anyone who's in as a long-term sub
No, not for 6 weeks.
for 6 weeks, it'd be more than 6 weeks.
But
Probably
I
7
know.
weeks.
Except
So-
if you're in for 6 weeks, you're certified in that area, you're doing lesson plans, you're doing all the grading, that should be different than a day-to-day sub.
Yeah.
But, you know, that's something to look at in the future because it really should be a differentiation. And I'm not saying that I regret having done what I did. I'm just saying that we need to look at the future and get the best out there for us.
And it is tough because, you know, the whole business world is competing for employees and some of these folks can go somewhere else and make more money. You know, even though I think we figured out average is about $20 an hour, you know, for subbing at the $150 rate, but which isn't too bad. But again, they aren't working every day for 8 hours a day all year long. So it's not like having a $20 an hour job somewhere else.
Okay,
Listen,
anybody else want to make a comment? Hey, if not, all those in favor of accepting the ESS one-year contract, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, administrative changes, Dr. Klein.
Okay, administration is recommending the changes there are before you for administrative assignments. There are some that aren't changes, some that you've already approved, but the whole list is there. And I know you're aware of them. So again, just kind of bringing these, I like bringing them to the board as an official blessing to move on. So that's why they're in front of me today. So I just ask that you approve these administrative changes.
Motion,
So moved.
Second.
questions? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, software, Mr. Erickson. I assume,
I believe that's Mr. Holtzman.
Mr. Holtzman, sorry.
All right, not a problem.
Technology, wrong person.
No, that's all right. So this is for our HR AppleTrack software. So this is
Oh,
what the module we use for hiring staff. It's a 3-year agreement. Keeps the price a little bit flatter than if we do a year over year. The price was flat for the last 2 years and then it goes up here for next year. And then it stays flat again for a year and then it goes up a little bit 3. So we use the system a lot. Our HR consultant recommends it and continue to use that software. It saves us a lot of time, especially when we have an HR department of 1 person. It really does help.
Motion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, Winger, doesn't matter. Any questions? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you. Siemens contract, Mr. Holtzman.
Yes, ma'am. While we are going to be looking at switching out the building control systems for the high school, we still need them for at least 1 more year to make that transition. It's more than just the building controls. They also do a lot of warranty work with our actuators. That's covered under this agreement as well. So basically, it's just a continuation of this agreement with Siemens for 1.
Okay, questions? Sorry, let's have a motion first. Motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay, does anybody want to make a comment? Mr. Winger? No, just because we've talked about that in facilities a lot.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, this is something facilities does recommend. And we're looking forward, as Mr. Holtz said, to the future about maybe making a change. To doing this 1 more year contract. I know having, I think Jeff Adams said to us recently that work for next year would like to start putting information together soon so that when we hit the first day of summer, after students have left, that next summer, that switchover can begin. So this needs to hold us in place.
Okay. Okay, if nothing else, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, bucket truck, Mr. Holtzman.
Yes, ma'am. Mr. Adams and Mr. Miley actually been doing a lot of road trips to check out some of the vehicles. We look at this as actually a cost savings over the long haul. We spend close to about $10,000 a year to rent vehicles that allow us to get up and work on everything from light poles to security cameras and such. While we don't feel that all of that cost can be alleviated by this, we certainly feel at least $5,000 a year worth out of that 10,000. Some areas require some very specialized equipment to get to. So we feel that it has about a 5-year payback. It does have a few miles on the vehicle, but it's not going to receive that many miles as we're driving it around within the district for those purposes. You know, this is probably one of those vehicles we'll put 1,000 or 2,000 miles on here. They do like the fact that it does have a 120 volt system on it. So if we put a very small generator on the inside of the box, they can do power work up on the bucket truck itself. It goes up about 40 feet. So they've looked at a couple of them. We've had a few that have kind of unfortunately went, to other buyers through time. So they're holding this one for us at the moment, but we're recommending a purchase of this bucket truck, and it comes out of the capital reserve funds that we've had.
Okay, do we have a motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay, questions about the truck? Okay, if not, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank you.
Okay, transportation for pre-K count students at the Waynesboro daycare. Dr. Klein, just want to give a explanation of what
Just
we're dealing with
basically,
here?
we're asking the board to have a discussion and possible action for transportation for the Fairview pre-K count students that are at the Waynesboro daycare.
Okay, and I will assure everyone here, there has been a lot of discussion and a lot of time spent trying to consider all the different aspects of this. And several, if not all of our board members have been involved in that. So however this goes, I can assure you that that's happening. So let's start with a motion, which I believe we have, and then we'll get to discussion after that.
Okay, I have a motion to make, and it's a long one. Based on consideration, case by case, from an established daycare center within the Waynesboro Area School District in regard to providing transportation to and from the students' home school from their daycare, I make a motion to recommend to the board to approve the proposal of option 1, where Waynesboro Daycare will pay the full cost of transportation to and from Fairview for the 21-22 school year.
Okay, there's the motion. Do we have a second? Okay. Okay, discussion. There's all kinds of things to look at with this. I do think it'd be beneficial for anybody interested to know a little bit about, what people have thought of, what they think, why they may come to the conclusion they do.
Well, when this came up the last meeting, I had asked how it was going to affect the other daycares. I'd have to consider them before I made a consideration about this. That's before I heard the motion. How does this motion affect Mr. Howell?
It doesn't. This is a motion, simply money in, money out.
So would he be offered the same service?
We're not offering any service. These are people who came to us and asked for something they're willing to pay for.
Isn't that a service?
We're not offering any service. There are people that came to us and asked for a situation, and we're approving one situation.
Did we hear from other daycares? Wasn't someone going to reach out to other daycares?
Yes, I made a point of calling the 3 designated daycares and made them aware that we were having this discussion this evening and that there was possibly some type of action regarding transport.
Mrs. Sullivan, could you repeat?
I certainly can, because I tried to cover everything.
I know, except I want to listen the second time.
Okay. All right. Based on consideration, case by case, that means we're voting on one case. from an established daycare center within Waynesboro Area School District in regard to providing transportation to and from the student's home school from their daycare. I make a motion to recommend to the board to approve the proposal of option 1, where Waynesboro Daycare will pay the full cost of transportation to and from Fairview for the 21-22 school year.
Anybody else want to chime in?
Dr. Klein, did we talk to our solicitor about this?
I have. We've had a number of conversations and as you know, since even before the first day I came here, I started with grants and other things to put in place early childhood, and we've done a lot and have over the last few years to put a lot of emphasis on trying to add daycare options to build a network of people and groups to improve our child development from birth to school age. Having said that, and it's been a passion, and it's extremely important to the success of our learners that are in school, the success of those kids coming into our school. Having said that, with many conversations with our solicitor, I do have reservations. He has concerns basically about the fact that, once it's offered, or once it is approved for one daycare, there could be challenges made from other daycares and other daycare businesses to that fact. And he has, concerns with that, including concerns that the students would be on the bus, longer times. Anytime you put kids on a bus longer times, you tend to have more discipline issues. One of his concerns was, we told other parents the last time they had to get different daycare when we redistricted, and now they don't have that. They'll have changed, and they possibly may not have had to do that. There are a number of concerns, but his biggest thing was it could be challenged if other daycares want to have that same service.
So, okay, so here is my question. And this is just a question. Okay. So say daycare F comes to Mr. Holtzman and says, I need transportation from here to here. He works up a number and it's $100 a day. Okay. Obviously, $500 a week. We're like, wow, we can't afford that. Okay. Well, they couldn't afford it, it wouldn't happen. Is that correct? That's
my understanding.
okay. So as long as the people that come with the request are willing to pay the whole thing, that they're able to pay it. That's where I'm.
The issue is that if it is offered or is available to some, it can be challenged, although, they may challenge for the price, the same price, what it would be for others. And the other part of it is that I think the concern is that if, let's say we don't have enough bus, we have to get an additional bus with increased cost. Let's say it's one bus that we have to get in order to accommodate that care, and there's only 8 kids. The cost of that is absorbed since you only have 8 kids.
But then couldn't Mr. Holtzman at that point say, well, this is going to cost you, I'm just throwing numbers out here, $20,000 a year. They're going to say, well, we can't afford that. Then that ends it.
It could. I think our solicitor.
Do I need to add something to this? I mean, I can.
I think you've got it covered by saying case by case basis, don't you?
I think
And it's an
there-
unknown.
Yeah,
It's an unknown. How do we know?
he's still
hard to-
saying it could be down.
He's
He and
saying
I
it can-
had a long conversation on Friday about it. As far as knowing that part, because a lot of those same questions.
Okay, I'm sure you did. Okay,
I'd like to make a comment. I wrote down things just to make sure, so. But they're from me. So I'm a former board member of the Waynesboro Dick. And I served at a time when the board was very ineffective. The director was ineffective. And I see Robert here shaking his head because he came on board, during that period of time, and it's changed. Right now, we have an excellent director out there. We've got what I consider an excellent board that is doing, quote, its job, which was not happening when I was there, okay? So we have 3 pre-K classrooms out there. And I felt, it was great to put these 3 classrooms within this site. I felt it would be, a real win-win situation for both the, for the Waynesboro School District and for the Waynesboro Daycare to put these 3 classrooms out there. However, that's what has created this whole dilemma, because these pre-K kids are out there now. However, I still see, my personal feeling is this now, and again, I'm no longer on the daycare board, so I do not know exactly what their finances are like, except I think this was financially very lucrative for Waynesboro Daycare for us to have put those classrooms out there. But then it's created this dilemma. So I question whether it should be our school district who has to deal with transporting these kids. When I am feeling that financially the daycare should be figuring it. And I also want to say that I read a letter today saying, oh yeah, we bought 2 buses last year. Daycare did not buy 2 buses last year. Daycare bought 2 vans that will transport what, 8 kids? Yeah. And so, and I realized last year was a very, very difficult year to even find vehicles, except those 2 vans that they have are limiting the number of kids they can transport. So I guess what I'm saying is, we've put daycare into a difficult situation, but I believe that financially daycare is in a much more lucrative situation right now than what they were before we put the pre-K classroom. So I will get off my high horse, but I realize that it's a difficult situation, but I don't know if the school board be responsible for these kids.
In all fairness, all of our partners, and they've all been wonderful. Waynesboro Daycare has been a great partner to work with. I would love to have more of these everywhere else in town and in the communities that we have. Because the evidence is there to show that this kind of thing works and makes a difference for our kids. But if all of our partners, and we had just applied for two more classrooms of 17, I believe, at I think 143,000, the YMCA. So we have applied for that one. But all of them, for those number of classes, they're all paid pretty much, I believe, the same thing out of that grant.
My concern is a year and a half ago, when we did redistricting, and we created a lot of problems for parents, and a lot of parents were unhappy that their child had to go to their home school. We did make some exceptions that they could apply if there was room at that school and the parents were willing to transport. Our busing situation before that cost us a lot of money. And maybe next year we have a bus that has some openings in, but we may not have it for the whole year. If the two kids that are riding that bus from Hooverville to Maori or to Fairview move, we're not going to need that bus. And then we're going to be transporting the daycare and not kids anymore. We're just opening a can of worms that we've just tried to get rid of with changing our busing situation. And it has really helped our bottom line on busing. And we're a very frugal school district. If you look at all the districts in Pennsylvania, we're the bottom of the barrel as far as what we pay for taxes for our school district. And yet we have a very good school district that has good testing, and we can be very proud that we have done a good job. But I'm really concerned about opening a can of worms, and that's what I call it.
And I must say that I agree with Mrs. Faithful, because I consider this a Band-Aid approach. It's, I mean, we're only talking about this next year. It's going to spiral. And one of the problems, you know, with the redistricting, we wanted to save lots of money on transportation, which I think we'll do, you know.
We have already.
Yeah, we have already, and we will continue to do so, except if we continue to.
These kids are in our district anyway. They're gonna ride a bus from somewhere to one of our schools anyway.
Yes.
I don't understand where you're getting that we're gonna have extra kids at the bus.
Well, it's like the gentleman from We Care was wondering why we don't pick up his kids and take them to the school. There's a state law that kids that live within, and I don't know, Mr. Eric Olson, can you tell
Sure.
us what the rule is?
Sure. If it's within 1.5 miles for elementary and 2 miles for secondary, as long as it's considered safe, it's not a hazardous route. We don't receive any reimbursement.
Right, so transportation from We Care to Fairview Avenue is within that 1.5 miles. So we don't transport. Not We Care, but I'm sorry,
No.
Jelly Bean, what is?
Beanstalk.
Beanstalk, I'm sorry. But We Care is out of that. And so we transport them to, is it Maori? We take
Maori
them to, and Fairview. And the Noah's Ark is in the 1.5 miles, and they've come to us and asked for transportation, and we've denied them because it's within that 1.5 miles. So if you're out of that 1.5 miles, then we have to transport, and that's the only kids we transport. We don't transport other kids unless they're special needs kids. So, and we only take them to the closest school. We don't take them to, we used to take them to all the schools. When I was teaching, every kid was every different place. And if you lived in the Maori school district and grandma lived in Summit View, you could go to Summit View. And we really created a lot of problems, and we've tried to change that. And it's really hurt a lot of parents, and they've had to make changes. And I just feel if we do this, I'm afraid we're going to open another can of worms. I'm sorry. I know I used to say.
Okay, I just want to say one more thing, and that is that I am making this motion for 1 year. This is not like a forever thing. It's a 1-year thing. And these people are going to pay the bill.
Yes.
So we're not losing any money by this. They're paying the bill. So whether it would spiral out with other people asking, I have no knowledge of that, but the next person could come and ask for something ridiculous and it's out of their range of what they can pay, and the answer is no. This is a one-time thing and they are paying for it. That's my motion. This is not a forever thing. One time.
No, to your point, Ms. Sullivan, if you're making this motion for 1 year,
Yep, 21, 22.
the board could at that point review any issues and concerns that may have arisen by that time. Now, there could be a number of them
There could
prior
be.
to that. But if there wouldn't be, then it would at least give some evidence that it worked. And however, if it gives that evidence.
And if it
then
doesn't work,
it would
this
be
is a
discontinued.
one-year motion. This is not a end-all be-all solution to this problem. But it shouldn't be anyway, because kids will be going back to the schools that they came from, but yeah. That's all I got.
Well, they wouldn't be going back to the schools they came from because
Well, they would be starting in the kindergarten where they came.
They'll still be in their home.
Their
They'll be in
yeah,
their
they'll
home
still be
schools.
in their home school.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That's why they're on the bus.
Right.
That doesn't help me in my decision because to me, Cindy, that is inviting exception. And that makes enforcing any policy harder. That's what I heard when you just explained that 1 year thing.
I don't know how we could turn another, my opinion is it would be very hard for me to
Right.
turn another down if they want.
Right. Right. Okay.
Anyone else? Okay, if we're ready for a vote then, I think everybody understands specifically what Mrs. Sullivan's motion is. Any last minute clarification on that? Okay, if not, we will do a roll call vote on this. Mrs. Kuzer.
Okay. Mrs. Sullivan,
Yes.
Mr. McDonald,
No.
Mrs. Zimmerman,
No.
Mrs. Strite,
Yes.
Dr. Royer,
Yes.
Mr. Wengert,
Yes.
Mrs. Miles, I'm abstaining, Mrs. Bakedal,
I was on the Waynesboro board daycare many years ago. And my son went there, and I hate to do this, but I'm voting no.
Mrs. Harold,
Only because I think we have to be fair to the other daycares, and I think that would be very difficult. I say no. Which is a 4-4, is that correct?
it's a 4-4.
Okay, that means the motion does not pass. Okay, thank you for people that spent a lot of time on this and agonized over it. It was a very difficult decision. Okay, moving on then. Next item is the discussion of the reading of the second policies. Who is that? Dr. Klein, is that you?
Oh, yeah.
Policies?
We have, as you can tell, these are policies you saw about 30 days ago or about 4 weeks ago, I believe, 3 weeks ago, that we're asking for the approval to move on and put in place. So it's the second reading. This would be the official adoption of these policies.
Do we have a motion to approve the policies?
So moved.
Second.
Questions, comments on the policy?
Which one were we tossing out that we're not going to?
340.
340.
Yeah.
okay. That's what I
So
heard.
if you want the exact numbers for what we're gonna do next week, I have them all written down. So it'll be 4 from first policy and then a bunch more from trauma.
So anybody can request those. Okay, any other questions or comments? If not, all those in favor of accepting those policies, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, business, Mr. Holtzman.
Yes, ma'am. For you, we have bills for payment and purchase orders. That's for this year, both general fund and cafeteria, as well as a couple remaining purchase orders that we're closing out this year. And then item number 2 is, and again, I apologize for the length, but we have a tremendous number of purchase orders for 21-22. A lot of these come off bid lists or building budgets that have been approved. A lot of the items are used to get the year started, obviously, for us, starting July 1. And then we have just a budget income and expense report as requested by the board with some variance explanations.
Okay. Motion to approve.
So move.
Second.
Questions? Okay, all those in favor of accepting the bills for payment and purchase orders, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank
you. All right, Clayton cabinet comments. Anybody?
I do have one quick one. We did receive a request for alerta again from another business, and with the board's permission, we'll bring the resolution back to you. The July meeting. We'll give you some time. We'll put some information on the Friday folder, so you have time to look at that, but that could be a potential.
What is it? You say?
Yeah, it's for over in the Wharf Road area over there in the business park, Zane Miller Business Park area.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's for another building over in that area. So commercial opportunity again, which we've had some good success with in the past. Typically, when the board's approved resolutions like this, they've done it with a 120-day window, so it doesn't open it forever. And it, during that 120 days, those 4 months, basically, a company or an individual can apply.
Okay. Board member comments.
Board member question?
Yep.
Okay. Got a couple of phone calls and a Facebook question about reimbursement for summer school if they pass. And I was gonna call you, but I forgot. So I figured everybody should know what the policy is I mean, what the procedure is anyway.
So we initially created a scenario where they were asked to pay.
They pay $50, right?
I believe so.
Okay, so
I'm
they pay-
hesitating.
Okay, they
I'm-
pay $50 per class.
I believe so. There may be a it's a complicated question because there's a difference between credit recovery and credit advancement.
Right, and I have the numbers from credit advancement too. That's like a lot more. That's 300 and then 750 for, I mean, 250 for the second one. Oh my gosh. All my numbers.
So we are in the process of, we have collected money and we had talked about the possibility of refunding the cost of the course pending that they complete the course.
Okay.
It is a complicated process in the sense that in some cases in the middle school, they've already have completed the course because they started it during the 4th marking period. So there are layers. So real specific questions, I believe, need to be directed to the building level administrator.
Well, that's who they called and they didn't get any answer.
Okay, well then I will let me know who this person is and I will definitely follow up with them individually because I
think you just said the answer though. So if they started summer school in April at the middle school and they finished it before summer school started,
they may not have even paid at that point. I'll have to go
that's
back.
the, right there, that's the question. That's when you're gonna have to, y'all give your name.
Sure, thank you.
Okay.
Yes, definitely. And because we have spreadsheets on our students and we've been tracking them, but it is a little different this year.
Oh, I imagine it's,
So, no,
Not
and
easy.
again, we went back and forth with it, and that's why I'm hesitating because essentially we wanted to make sure that we were providing that opportunity to all students. However, we also have always provided, students that are free and reduced would have a reduction in the cost as well. We also wanted to make sure there was an incentive to start the course and finish the course, as opposed to simply making summer school free for all So,
Is this a
Okay.
policy?
no, it's a guidelines.
Because
Just,
I'd weigh in on that.
no, this is
Surprise,
just,
surprise.
this is just for 1 year, right?
Yes.
This is
Oh,
just
yeah,
for
this
1
was,
year.
Because of
This is-
Because we had
Okay.
so many kids
Yeah.
who,
Okay.
particularly middle school kids who just didn't pass anything.
Wow.
I mean, there was like this huge number that
well, a lot of them
We've-
were able to pass as a
But-
result of the fourth marking period.
because of the fourth marking period and summer school in school, they're able to go to 9th grade.
So when we evaluated the
I know.
entire, we're again in a unique situation with the
know.
learning recovery, that last year we were told for the most part from the state that there was no retention and there really should not be summer school offered. You know, let's just move on and
Right.
and it would have been all remote last year, which is what we were offering anyway. So this year, the expectation is that students are in school, they are coming to the middle school, they are coming to the high school. Students who are in for credit advancement, as long as they don't have any, you know, specific issues with attendance, they are doing it online. So I'll have to cut back to that particular
Okay.
situation to, because I'll have to clarify, and there might be a little bit of discrepancy between high school and middle school as well. but we'll
Okay,
work
and
through it.
the second part of that from a parent
Did we vote on it?
is,
I don't,
but
I thought we voted on this.
know.
I don't
Sure.
think
Maybe
so.
not.
no, we didn't. We
I
just,
don't think
we
so.
just kind of talked about it.
discussed
We're gonna
we
bring it
just
up in
talked about it.
academic.
That's
That'll be on the academic agenda.
But you can't
Somebody else
change
will
it.
have to,
You can't change it now because all the parents know it.
well,
Right.
I just want to clarify.
Yeah.
No,
For next year.
just get the parameters here.
Well, this is like basically 1 year because of the
Oh.
pandemic. And, okay, so what's the other thing? Now you made me forget.
I'm
Linda.
sorry.
I'm sorry.
Uh,
I don't
Oh,
believe, I'm
are
trying to see
we-
if there's an,
Are we, huh?
I'm trying to see right now. I don't believe there's a middle school admin on at this point. So
No,
Okay.
there isn't. So.
Okay. Well, anybody else has
It'll come
anything?
back
Maybe
to-
it'll come to
Oh,
you.
are we allowed, are we, okay, are we holding kids back? Because remember you said, that well, last year, nobody got held back,
no.
or
What,
is there anything on that
so
this year?
and any
You don't know.
case,
Or nothing
yeah,
nothing.
said.
there's not a state directive.
Wasn't
Basically,
there like a bill?
The parents could ask to have their
Yeah.
child held
Yeah.
back.
Yeah.
Is
That
that going
passed, I
anywhere?
thought,
It had,
Yeah,
didn't it?
uh,
I think it passed.
I thought it passed. But
we have not.
maybe it only
gotten
passed one.
notification.
It might have
Of
passed,
the-
it might have
What
passed
is-
the education committee.
I was gonna
Committee.
say, I
Okay.
did that, but I don't, because we would have gotten notification.
yeah, we
Okay.
didn't receive any.
Okay.
So ultimately, case by case basis, primarily on the elementary level, we do the lights retention to make a determination of whether or not they're a good candidate. So, I mean, the mindset is that if they're able to get in, complete the coursework from a secondary perspective, they are going to pass. From an elementary perspective, between the the MTSS
Right.
coordinator, the principal, the parents, they have had individualized discussions regarding the retention of a student. There are situations where, a parent may truly feel, oh, you need to retain my student because they're not doing as well as every other third grader. But from a data perspective, they are, or they are doing better, So we actually had a person from an outside cyber who wanted to bring their child back, which was great, but also wanted the child retained. So again, we had to do some of those assessments, but with the understanding that what we want to do is make sure that we're acting in the very best interest of the child.
Okay.
Dr. Sternheim, I'm on here if,
Oh,
if
thank
there
you,
are
Mrs.
any,
Rather.
right, if there are any middle school questions about summer school,
Okay.
I can answer those.
Should I ask him?
Sure.
Jason? Can you hear me,
Yep.
Jason?
Yep,
Okay. So this kid started 2 classes in April. Finished one before summer school started. Is doing the second one, did the second one during summer school. The mom paid $100 and only got 50 back. She doesn't understand why she didn't get 100 back.
If they passed and they have complete, are they still work? I guess the question is if they're still working on the current class. So we told
No.
parents that when they completed both the classes or whatever number of classes they needed, that they would get their money back for those classes. And parents were asked to pay, even if it was pre-summer school, which was started in the fourth quarter.
And then I was wrong
So,
on that one.
so if they finish pre-summer school and they would get the $50 back.
Yes.
So maybe secretaries are a little behind on paying the other 50. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, that's something, if you pass that name along, I'm sure we can
Okay.
communicate with that parent and figure it out.
You want me
There
to
was a
send it
difference.
to Jason or you?
You can forward it to me.
Okay.
And then I'll make sure the middle school
Okay.
gets that information.
And there was a difference between free and reduced lunch and not, and it was a $50 flat fee for free and reduced lunch, and then 50 per class for other students that were not.
Okay, thanks, Jason. I know you were there.
And so the reimbursement would come back through the school district. So sometimes the processing of a check does, I mean, it's not that the middle school secretary has a checkbook there and writing it out. So like we took all the money, we've deposited the money, and then that money would have to be in a form of a district check for reimbursement.
Okay. Anybody else?
Thank
Comment?
you, Mr. Weatherall.
I had a question, Mrs. Harold.
Yes.
I may have missed it and perhaps I'm wrong, but I was wondering why Kim abstained. Don't board members have to give a reason why they're doing an abstention?
Yes, they do.
Because of my daughter being an assistant teacher in one of those pre-K counts, I felt like I shouldn't be voting either way.
Thank you.
Any other comments, questions? Okay, if not, Mr. Engel, you want to say anything today? No? Okay.
You mean there's a person back there?
So quiet.
It's just Mike.
Okay.
Crack your bones or something.
one back.
Okay,
I thought everybody
so
left.
despite the fact it says executive session, we will not be having one after this. I don't think, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Wow.